Hello everyone. Learn watercolor from the master. Chung is a world-renowned international watercolor master from Taiwan. His paintings are free and unrestrained with rich layers, profound artistic conception. Today, let us follow his Ye, an ancient city in southern France. See how to create a wonderful watercolor street scene step by step. First, design the composition. Remove some ugly, distracting things. Adjust the area of the color block on the screen. Pull the shadow on the left wall down. Expand the area of sunlight above, forming a triangular funnel shape. Let the edges of those shadows guide the eyes, downward to the visual focus below. Break all symmetrical, complete, and rigid morphological elements, forming an asymmetrical, broken, interesting composition structure and visual language. Determine the shape. From large areas to local areas, quickly complete the sketch. In addition to observing the shape of the object, you should also pay attention to the effect of light, including light intensity, area size, location, and boundaries. It is an important factor in determining the success of a watercolor painting. Okay, ready for watercolor. First, mix some warm and cool grays, including purple gray, blue gray, ochre gray, green gray. The key point is more water and more pigment. You can mix some buff titanium to increase the brightness. Basically prepare enough paint for the middle value blocks in the picture. Spray some water first at the top left, because I don't want the edge of the shadow too hard. So let's get started. The speed of moving the brush, make the effect of dry white on the edges of color. Go back and add some colors. Gently shake the brush to almost drip the paint onto the paper, instead of brushing it onto paper. I brush quickly from the bottom up. Speed when lifting the brush. Let this stroke leave some interesting broken edges. Occasionally go back to add some color. Colors of different value, temp. You can use dots or tapping to drip the paint. Continue to connect downward. Quickly move the brush, leaving some blank and white blocks. If they are interesting and good-looking, I decided to keep it. The charm of watercolor painting is that it develops some surprises from time to time. Make your painting a masterpiece. Lightly drip to create detail at the edges of the shadows, instead of using brushing. Spraying water is not just for moistening, it can also produce some texture. This is where a lot of details will be. Now you don't have to worry about color connection. Even if it dries up, you can still connect it through details later. Paint the opposite wall in warmer color. Still try to leaving some white. This oblique line of shadow is very beautiful, but it won't be a closed, rigid edge. It's a slightly broken and interesting edge line. Sometimes go back to add some dark colors. Try to connect colors with slightly different value or different temp. Immediately come to the right wall. Add some cadmium yellow. Paint this side of the wall with a brighter yellow color. Press the upper eaves with dark brown. Also use speed to brush out some textures. In fact, the value of this area is not very high, but the improvement of saturation shows the effect of bright and warm sunlight reflecting on this wall. I washed out this wall lamp on the left. Actually, you can do it last, to prevent the paint on the right side from drying out. So I hurried back, and used a cool gray. Continue on. I use ultramarine or cobalt blue, to make the color cooler. Use sienna or even vermilion, to make colors warmer. Connect the colors, by alternating warm and cold. Of course, it must be unified in the overall temperature bias. For example, in this painting, warmer color in the upper part, and the lower part is cooler. Then there are subtle changes in temperature in each area. Make the arch down with a cooler darker gray. Also don't paint the edges very smooth. Spray a little water. Do some splatter. The area close to the ground, I let it go. Leave it to do some details later. Now let's make the wall on the far right. It's a bit cooler. A high-grade cool gray. Spray some water. Look, I blocked the underside to keep it dry. I might do some textures later. I brush it down faster. Sure enough, some beautiful blank appeared. It would be useful for further detailing. Even we could save them for last. Add sienna. Complete the left side of the arch. Leave a piece of white for another lamp, by the way. Drop in some cool gray while it's still wet. This is the focus area. Deserves more details. And spray some water on the ground. Give more cerulean blue. Mix a beautiful cool gray. Let it spread while it's wet. Add some sienna. Make several cool gray and warm gray. Let them overlap and lay on the ground. Pay attention to the direction of my brush. Brushing upwards is to create some texture at the end of this stroke. Make some details on the boundary between the wall and the ground, in order to better connect the two color blocks of the ground and the wall. So let's do it now. Extend the shadow on the upper left down. The paper has dried. Spray a little water. There is less water on the brush now. The consistency of the pigment is getting higher, so this area can be painted darker. Also leave some white spots, but less than the lower right, because the blank space on the lower right echoes the large white space on the upper left. The dark color on the lower left echoes which on the upper right. Never be symmetric on both sides. Now let's work on the details of the storefront and awning. I used the blank left before to make the bright surface. Use the brush to sweep back and forth like this. Allows more paint to accumulate. Especially when you want to paint dark colors onto paper. I often do this. Note the color of awning has a slight change in temperature from left to right. Connect with the sienna on the right. I added some ultramarine and even cobalt blue. Make the dark color a little cooler. Contrast with the warm colors above. As we get closer to the focal area, do more details as well. But just follow the trend. Now it's just the first wash. Don't need too much pressure. Remove unnecessary white spots. While it's still wet, darken some areas a bit. Now the feeling of awning is gradually coming out. The lower left part is roughly treated in an abstract way. You can use splattering to create some texture. You don't have to draw very specific, because it is far away from the visual focus. And the area near the arch is the focal point of the entire painting. There can be more details. The edge of the reflection of this arch, I'm dotting it down. Good. Now only the lower right part remains to be made. I brushed it down with a cool gray mixed with cobalt blue. Go back upstream and click. It's too dark down there. Wash it with water. Dab off some with a tissue. Break this sideline. Spray some more water. Make it connect softer. Make the figures here. This beautiful red. Enrich the colors of the picture. Let's go back to the top and make this eaves. From bottom to top, where the brush flies out, is where the details remain. Put some more dark colors in. Good. The first wash is done. Okay, let's move on. Let's make the signboards on both sides first. Apply a base color first. I sprayed some water here before, so now the edges are soft. The shadow of the signboards and the cast iron connecting the wall should be a little more abstract. Draw feelings rather than facts. A little more splattering and dry brushing. Continue to press the dark color up. Rather than drawing the object, I am organizing the relationship. When drawing individual objects, the good overall relationship must be the premise. Go back to the left and do some dry brushing. Sometimes I scrape it with my nails. Get those interesting details. Continue using the side edge of the brush to make more detail. I seldom use the center. Now the three-dimensional sense of the awnings is very strong. Wash out this wall lamp as well. When I was painting these bricks, actually, I'm also combining the dark color of the arch with the dark color of the store sign on the right. The focus area can certainly be a little more detailed, but still have to be restrained. Keep the fresh and transparent of the first layer as much as possible. Continue to strengthen the dark color of the store on the left. Do some dry brushing to make more details. Spray some water again. Add some brighter color between dry brushes. Still some abstract loose details. Just to make the picture richer. Keep up with the overall progress. Scrape out some details with a palette knife, very restrained. You can also use your nails. It's just a hint of where the wall meets the ground. Let's go back to paint the windows. Indicate the shape of the window with loose brushstrokes. That's not the visual focus. Don't draw very specifically. Don't draw these cast iron parts clearly either. Not the same thickness, same brightness. What we need is richness, rather than completeness. Mixed cobalt blue and cerulean blue make up the sky above. I washed this line to make a hole. Do you remember, when drawing sketches, I intentionally let this window break this shadow line? I bring down the blue of the sky with a blue-gray, all the way to the third window. Let the chunks of blue above jump to the warm gray areas below, form a rhythm. Lead all the way to the cool gray area below, form a color echo. Spray some water mist at the lamp on the left. Wash out a bright line on the ground with water. This line not only breaks the dullness of the ground, but also emphasize the perspective direction. Guide your eyes to the focal area. The dark edges of the ground are too hard. Wash it a little bright with water. The sunlight reflects back and forth in the alley. Tell me to brighten up here too. It immediately has a sense of air. Good. End of chapter. Now for the final adjustments and details. At this stage, sometimes I spend as much time as the first two stages combined. The edge of the upper left shadow is too sharp. Need to be softened. Do a little more splattering. Make it natural and fun. I expanded and deepened the details along the previous stage work area. The point is to keep as much the good parts of the first wash as possible. Add details very sparingly. With a big picture perspective, handle the relationship between the individual and the whole. After I wet the paper fully, I scrape out more details with a palette knife. They do not necessarily represent specific objects. Sometimes it's just kind of image. Point to the visual focus in the direction of perspective. But sometimes it can be specific to objects, like these wires. Some highlights. And the words on this sign. Is the scrape more natural and vivid? At the end, please exercise moderation. Never overpaint it. When I went back to fix some colors, based on my overall grasp of value relationship and temperature relationship, it's a kind of aesthetic experience. This of course requires constant practice. We're going to draw deep instead of drawing clearly. Paint the mood rather than the facts. Today's painting Ancient City of Year is my imitating work. Follow Master Chung. If you like, please like and follow. See you next time.